Hello, my name is Anakin and welcome to the Lockdown Diaries. I live in the southwest of England in Cornwall, and it is day 72 of the lockdown. So it's been 10 weeks now, over 10 weeks now. I must admit, back in March when the government first announced this lockdown, I mean, first of all, it didn't come as a surprise because most of Europe were already in some form of lockdown or another, the various degrees. Italy and Spain had already had a very strict lockdown. Other countries had a sort of slightly milder lockdown. Um, and so it didn't come as a surprise, but I must admit, I never thought it would last this long. I never thought it would be the first week of June and we'd still be in a lockdown. So the situation here in the UK at the moment is that the government has eased some of the lockdown restrictions. So at the moment, you are allowed to go back to work if you can't work from home. Uh, the shops haven't opened yet. The only shops that are allowed to open are shops that sell food. Gardening centres are allowed to open, and shops that sell stuff for the home. So I saw somewhere that IKEA has reopened. A lot of shops that sell kind of items for the home or just general stuff. So there's a shop near us. If you've ever been to Southeast Cornwall on holiday, you may know of a place called Traeger Mills. They were closed for weeks, but they've apparently reopened now. But I don't think they've reopened the whole store, but parts of it. There's another local shop called B&M. They sell homeware stuff, a little bit of food, loads of sweets, various things for the house, toys, a little bit of furniture, a little bit of decorating stuff, sort of bits and pieces of everything really. And they've been open all the way throughout. So the rules on kind of which shops have been allowed to open and which ones haven't have been a little bit weird, I think. And of course, pharmacies have been allowed to be open, but other non-essential shops have not been. So they're allowed to open from Monday. So I see that some of the local clothes shops and other shops are opening again. I had an email a couple of days ago, I think it was, from Wool on the X in Exeter in Devon. They're reopening a week later, I think, so around the 15th, I think. I haven't heard from other yarn shops or seen who are opening or not, but yeah, they should be allowed to open if the owner decides it's safe to do so. Problem is they have to be quite strict about how many people they have in the shop at any one time, and they've got to make sure that they can keep safe kind of social distancing rules. 2 meters is the rule here in the UK, so you've got to make sure that if you have people in your shop that they can keep 2 meters apart, and also you've got to make sure that your staff are safe. So a lot of shops are installing plastic screens at the checkout and at the tills so that there's a barrier between their staff and the customer. And obviously yarn shops have to cope with the fact that people come in and they touch the yarn. And if because they want to feel it, if you're going to knit with it, you want to feel how soft it is or what it feels like, what the texture is. So if you allow people in to browse, do you allow them to touch the yarn? Do you quarantine the yarn? I know some clothes shops have said that they will not allow, I think the rules say if you go into a clothes shop, you're not allowed to try on clothes. You can buy them, take them home and try them on, and then bring them back if they don't fit. And then the clothes will be quarantined for like 2 or 3 days or something before they're put back in the shop. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield, I think, for shop owners, and be interesting to see how many yarn shops decide to open. As for teaching, most I teach a lot of workshops in yarn shops, and my worry is how easy it will be for yarn shops to start running workshops again. I don't expect any workshops to go ahead till autumn at the earliest, but there may be some yarn shops who decide they want to run workshops in July. I'm not sure. If I must, I can't remember exactly what workshops I got booked in now for July off the top of my head. But if I'm booked in somewhere on the yarn shop and I think they can run the workshop safely, then I will probably say yes, because I don't think I'm at particularly high risk. My problem is most yarn shops are fairly small here in the UK, and if you have, say, six, and most places will take at least 6 to 8 people for a workshop. So if you have 6 people in for a workshop, one thing they're supposed to be 2 meters apart, which you need a very big table. And then that limits the amount of other people you can have in the shop. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to work with workshops. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But things are starting to open up again. We're allowed to meet friends outside. So you're allowed to meet group of up to 6 people in a outside area. So I could have friends come in my back garden. They're allowed to walk through your house if that's the only way they can get to your back garden. And they're allowed to go in your house. So if you have friends in the garden and they need to use the toilet, they're allowed to go into the house to use the toilet. But I'm not allowed to have friends come to my house or family members who don't live with me. So, for example, my in-laws wouldn't be allowed to come and visit us in our house, but they could visit us in the garden. So yeah, it's a bit, I think what they're saying is that they think the risk of transmission or the risk of infection outside is a lot less than it is inside. So that's the reason for that. So things are starting to ease. We've had some amazing weather, really, really sunny, and a lot of people have been flocking to beaches and parks and stuff like that, especially beaches. There is no restriction in England on how far you can travel. All these things I've been talking about, by the way, is for England. Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland have got their own rules. So I think if you are not British, I know from growing up in Norway and from traveling that most non-British people tend to regard British people as English. So in Norway, you would quite often say England or he's English, and then I'll say, well, actually he's Scottish, and people say, no, well, yeah, it's the same thing. So I know a lot of countries outside the UK think that Scotland, Wales, England, Northern Ireland are all England, part of England, but it's not. So England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland are all part of the United Kingdom, but they're all separate countries and they do all have their own governments. So there's some things that are decided by the central UK government based in London, and there's some things that are decided locally. And health is a local issue. So Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland have different rules than England, which is a little bit confusing. So in Wales, for example, I think you can now travel to places to go for a walk and things, but there's a limit to how far you can travel. Whereas in England, you can go as far as you want. So that makes it quite confusing, I think. And there has been issues this last weekend of people crowding beaches. There was one beach in Dorset where there was somebody, I think, jumped off a cliff or something. Which is probably not a good idea at the best of times, but they had to have, I think, 2 air ambulances land on the beach. So obviously the hundreds of people that were on the beach were all herded into one group, and there's a picture circulating of this group of people just smushed together, really, so they could allow 2 air ambulances to land. So obviously that's not very good. Some sports events are starting up again, but with no spectators. So we are slowly returning to normal, but I'm worried that it's a little bit too early, but we'll see. As a family, we are mostly carrying on as before. Simon and Vanessa work from home. I obviously work from home. Emily's finished her exams now and university exams, and she's now working in a local nursing home, in a local care home. So she's working out of the house, but the rest of us are working in the house. And we're limiting our social contact to just going out for essential shopping and walking the dog, and Simon and the girls have been going cycling as well. So we're not doing a ton of stuff. We haven't met up with any friends or anything yet. And when Simon's been to see his parents, he's been kind of talking to them across the gate. So he may now go in the back garden. Fortunately, the weather's changed a bit, and today there's been a lot of rain. So let's look at the knitting I've been doing. So I'll share first a new project. I can't really show you too many details of this project because it is for a magazine. The yarn arrived on Monday, I think. So I knitted a swatch. I worked out the start of the pattern yesterday, and I sat out in the garden in the afternoon. I cast on, I started knitting, and I knitted probably about that much. It's from the neck down, and I decided that the neck just looked too small, so I ripped it out, redid my numbers, and cast on again. And then I've actually decided this morning to make another change, so I now have to rip out about 6 rounds, I think, of about 270 stitches. But that's how much I've done so far. So after I film this, I'm going to go and have some lunch, and then I'm going to unpick those 6 rounds and then carry on. And then my other project I've been working on is a lace sweater. So I posted a video on YouTube probably about a week ago but starting to design a lace sweater. I wasn't sure to cast on this project because I was waiting for this yarn for this sweater to come. I'm waiting for some yarn for another magazine design to come, which was actually due next week, but the deadline's been extended. A lot of the knitting magazines in the UK are having problems with their photography at the moment because I don't think photographers have been allowed to work with models. I noticed in the latest issue of Knitting Magazine, there were the shawls, my shawl was on a dress form. I'll show you a peek at Knitting Magazine and the knitter in the next video because I've got patterns in both those magazines at the moment. So I'll show you that in a couple of days. So anyway, so I'm waiting for yarn to come for another magazine design, but they're basically extended the deadline because they can't get photos done at the moment anyway, but hopefully that will start to improve from next week, I hope. So anyway, so I decided last week to cast on for this sweater, and I wasn't sure about it. It was beginning of last week when I cast on, but I did cast on because I had to cast on something. I didn't want to just knit socks, and I knew that it might be like a week before my yarn arrived for these magazine designs. And I'm glad I cast on because I've done a lot. So I have got another video which I recorded because I'm trying to do regular videos through to take you through the design process of this sweater. So I do have another video, but I have to edit it and I haven't had time to do that. So I'll try and get that out in the next few days. But yeah, I'm probably nearly up to the underarms. So it's knitted in the round. And obviously it's for me, so I do have a lot of stitches. It will stretch out a lot more than this because this isn't blocked. If you look, I don't know how easy it is to see that, but I did block the bottom bit just so I could measure it and check to make sure it was wide enough. So I think maybe I got like 6 rounds to do, and then I need to check the measurements, how long it is, and I'm getting close to being able to start the sleeves. So it's a dolman sleeve shape. So when I get to the underarm, I'm going to cast some stitches for the sleeves and then knit it straight up to the shoulders. When it's all of a lace pattern like this in a lace weight yarn, so this is Shopple 6 carat. It is 600 meters per 100 grams. It's kind of between a sock yarn and a lace weight yarn, so like a heavy lace weight yarn. And I don't like lace sweaters in fine yarn with seams because the seams are really obvious. It's okay in thicker yarn, but I decided I wanted this to be seamless. But I also didn't want to do raglan sleeves or circular yoke. So dolman sleeves it is. I'm going to go for long sleeves, I think. Did one a year ago, all over lace in a lace weight yarn, which I did like 3/4 length sleeves, and I like it, but I don't wear it as much during the winter because of the shorter sleeves. So for this one I'm going to do long sleeves. So yeah, I've been doing quite a lot on that. Not knitted very much on it for the last couple since yesterday because I've been working on this magazine sweater, but I did do a little bit this morning, and I would like to try and finish this sweater by next week sometime. So I'm going to try and alternate between this one and the other sweater. I was hoping the weather would stay nice because my plan was to knit on the lace sweater in the afternoon when I sit in the garden, and then knit on the magazine sweater in the evening when I sit in the lounge, because the magazine sweater is knitted in the round, all in one piece. So by the time I get down to the bottom of the yoke, it will start getting bigger, and when I get like most of the body and the sleeves on it, it's going to be quite big, and it's wool, so it's quite warm. And I thought, if the good weather carries on, I don't want to sit out in the garden and knit on that because that'll be really, really hot. Unfortunately, the weather's changed today and it's not sunny anymore. It's been overcast and it's been raining. So, and it's supposed to be cool for the rest of this week with overcast and sort of mid-teen temperatures. So I don't know if I'll be sitting in the garden for the next few days. So I will try and alternate between these two projects because the magazine sweater isn't due till the end of June. So I've got plenty of time. But I also sent off a design submission for a couple of other magazines, or a couple of other issues of another magazine, and I haven't heard back about those yet. So, and if I get a commission from that, at least one of them is likely to be end of June as well. So I can't leave the magazine sweater too long. I've got to kind of get on with it in case I get another design submission for the same deadline. So I'm trying to juggle those two at the moment. I do also have a pair of socks on the needles for Vanessa, which I'm plugging a bit away on. I've not been knitting a lot on those. I finished the first sock, but I left it downstairs, and I'm nearly at the heel on the second sock. I'm knitting them toe up, so I'm hoping to finish those over the next week as well. In the evening, if I'm feeling tired or we're watching something on telly and I don't really want to concentrate on the lace, then I'll get the sock out and knit on that. So that's what's on my needles at the moment. And yeah, it's nice that we are starting to ease out of this lockdown a little bit. I and lots of other people are a little bit worried that it's a little bit too early, because the numbers of deaths per day vary from like 150 something to, I think last week there was a couple of days when it was over 400. So the numbers still seem a bit high for me. I know other countries didn't start easing out the lockdown till the numbers were below 100, and there's still, I think yesterday was something like 8,000 new infections. And the worrying thing is that here in the southwest, we are apparently just now coming into our peak. So when they say the southwest, they actually mean quite a big area. And Cornwall has probably got the lowest infection rate of that big area. So I don't know how much of a risk we are down here in Cornwall, because the infection rate down here has been very low so far. In the wider southwest, it's one of the worst parts of the country at the moment, apparently. Whereas in London, where the peak hit quite early, their numbers are a lot better. But as people start returning to work and shops start opening, that might change. There's a lot of speculation that the government are easing things off too quickly, and that some of these are decisions have been made to get certain other topics off the front pages of the newspapers. So I won't go into that, but yeah, it's I don't know, still worrying. Anyway, let me know what the situation is where you live if you're not in the UK, and if you're in the UK, tell me what you think about the easing. Do you think we're easing? The government is opening up too quickly? I mean, I know we need to get back to work and need to get the economy going again. But even if shops open next week, I'm not going to be rushing off to Plymouth to go shopping, which is our nearest big shopping centre. I might, if I'm in town, in our local town, to go to the post office or something. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. If I pop into our local town to go to the post office or something, I might pop into another shop if it's quiet. But I can't see myself rushing to go shopping. But I don't know. It's a difficult decision. Anyway, I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're safe. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Keep knitting, and tell me what's on your needles. And just tell me how you've been coping with this difficult time. It's been a weird few months. It's been a weird 2020. Anyway, hope you're safe, and I'll see you in a few days with the magazine, knitting magazine, and the knitter magazine. I'll show you my designs in the next video. Thank you for watching.